Hello, Zero AD community. Today I have a replay to share with y'all of a 2v1 that I played against two lower rated players, sternstaub and user3. User3 mentioned that they were actually a fan of my channel at the end of the match, which made me really happy. So big shout out to user3 if you're watching. This was an extremely fun game, and hopefully we can play more in the future. So yeah, we have me playing as the Kushites, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I went for a very different strategy during this game. Since I was playing against lower rated players, I felt like I had more wiggle room to try something new out. However, since there were two of them, they definitely gave me a run for my money. So I have my first farmstead being laid out, and I actually set one unit to cut down each of these trees, because once these berries are depleted, further down the line into phase 2 or 3, I'm going to want to use this farmstead to build fields around it. And yeah, I would want to clear these trees so I have the room to put those fields. In the northeast, we have user 3, and user 3 got really lucky with this whole bunch of extra berries, and they probably won't even have to build a extra farmstead to collect those berries, since it's so close to the original group of berries. And not even very far from those two, we have a third very plentiful group of berries. So if user 3 wants to do the smart thing, they would definitely get the berry upgrade. It literally gives you 50% faster berries. And when you have this many of them, there's like no tangible reason why you wouldn't want to go for that. But it looks like user 3 did not decide to pick it up. So user 3, if you're watching, that would definitely be some good advice to take. I personally would say always get the berry upgrade, because for the relatively low wood cost, only 100, the speed at which you collect these first crop of berries is always a lot faster, and it's very, very beneficial. But if you have even one extra bit of berries near your civ center, but especially two, then there's literally zero justification for saving that 100 wood. All right, so this is a good move. They decided to clear out these trees close to the civ center. And yeah, again, like the wood that you would have saved by not having to build a storehouse right away, since you have the trees close by, could easily be put towards the berry upgrade. Now in the northwest, we have sternstaub, yeah, playing as the Gauls. And they are finishing gathering this first group of berries with 7 women, which is a really good amount to have as the berries are running out, I would say. And they did not go for the wood nearby the civic center. Instead, they went for this wood line here. Interestingly, I can't see where the storehouse is for this wood. Let's see. I'm going to wait and see where these units end up taking. Oh, I see, it was hidden. There we go. There we go. I'm going to flip the map just for fun, because when I played it, it was the perspective that I was just showing you guys. So I'm going to do a reversal, a little bit of a reversal. Yeah, there we go. So back to me, I am building out my houses. Yeah, I often use wood lines as a natural barrier. And I will build out my houses from one wood line to the next wood line in order to create because normally a lot of people build houses directly surrounding their farms to protect the women. I instead choose to build my houses a little bit further out. And when you're doing that, it requires a lot more houses in order to form an actually impenetrable barrier. So using the wood lines in order to supplement the barrier created by the houses is a really beneficial move that you can make. So I have my wood cutting upgrade. I am currently in the process of getting my first farming upgrade. I made a big boo-boo in this game. I let my ladies idle for a little bit. Normally you should already have your farms laid down like right as the berries are running out, or you should have like more than just the 5 women in that area pretty much ready to go to start building farms once the berries are laid out. And the other thing is, as you start farming, you should have your iron plow upgrade, which I did a pretty good job of this time around. But yeah, what I had to do was I was floating so much wood, so I pulled all of the women off of the wood lines. I guess most of them, I still have 3 there, but pretty much all the women off of the wood lines. And I sent them straight to farming. So now I have 35 women and 7 farms being built. But yeah, I was much too late. I'm, very low on food. And for a while there, I was not even able to, I had my barracks built. So it was a huge waste of time because I had a barracks and a civ center, and neither of them were producing any units for a while there. And I'm still very low on food. Now I have enough, but I guess I'm distracted and I haven't begun producing units yet. But I did manage to snag the early wood cutting upgrade, which is good. And I have both of my upgrades from the farmstead. And now I'm definitely getting more acclimated to using batches. Basically, like, I'm trying to have a policy of if I have enough resources, if I'm floating enough resources to get all of the upgrades that I need, then I can do, like, larger batches, like 5 at a time or whatever. But if I'm, like, right down to the wire in terms of resources in that type of scenario, I am still doing just 1 at a time or 2 at a time out of the barracks and civ center so that I can collect enough resources to get my upgrades as early as I possibly can. And then once I have all of the upgrades for whatever phase I'm in, at that point, I can go back to training in batches, because the batches are extremely useful. They are a much more efficient way of training units as opposed to doing them 1 at a time. But yeah, you could see that it really hurt me transitioning so slowly over to farming and being so low on food for such a long time. But I am finally on my way up to phase 2. And I am trying to get to phase 2 as early in the game as possible for the new strategy that I was trying to work in this game. So I'm now sending a group of, so I built a batch of 5 archers from the barracks. Yeah, I'm really going hard with the batches this time around. Maybe a little bit too hard because I'm about to be in phase 2. And I may not really have the resources that I need to get the phase 2 upgrades right off the bat, which is what I like to do. But let's see. Yeah, I decided to go for this metal mine first, rather than rather than the one close to the Civic Center. And that is for a very specific reason, which will reveal itself very shortly. Anyway, I've been focusing all of my attention on myself. Let's move on. User 3 is up to 55 pop, and they're still grabbing berries. So they've only had to build 2 farms at this point because of all these plentiful berries, and they did eventually get the berry upgrade. However, if they had gotten it earlier, they could have potentially gotten that food a lot faster, and they could already be moving on to farming fully at this point. I wonder if they are aware of, they know about this extra crop of berries right here, so hopefully they saw it and they take advantage of that one as well before they send these women over to the farms. They now have their 2 barracks down rather than just 1, and they are producing, let's see, why can't I select both of them? Well, they're producing 5 archers out of each. They just popped out simultaneously, and I'm assuming these archers are headed over to, yes, they're both headed over to stone, which is very interesting. The Kushites are a civ that rely very heavily on metal, I find. At least the way I use them, but generally speaking, because they have mercenaries available to them, and mercenaries are units that don't cost any food or wood, they only cost metal. And of course, they have elephants in phase 3, and champions, of course, which cost metal. And of course, the the upgrades cost metal. So with the Kushites, yes, you need stone to build additional barracks, stables, etc. But I always prioritize metal first and foremost when I'm playing the Kushites. So user 3, that's another suggestion I would certainly make if you are going to be playing the Kushites on the reg. Also, I would definitely, especially when you're devoting this much manpower to mining stone, there's no reason why you shouldn't have the mining upgrade, the stone specifically upgrade by now. But normally I would get the metal upgrade first, and I would have these guys on metal so that I could use that in phase 2 to either build mercenaries or quickly obtain my military upgrades. One last piece of advice. These guys, you should have been building storehouses as soon as the wood line gets cleared out, because the amount of time it takes for these units to walk and deliver the wood to the storehouse is actually a huge factor in terms of how quickly you collect the resources. You do have the baskets upgrade, which is somewhat helpful because they can carry larger loads. So it's still a long distance to walk, but they have to walk it less frequently. However, just building the closer storehouse is a much more effective way of taking care of that issue. And you kind of have to stay on top of it, because now the wood line is receded so far that it's past your territory, and you would have to build 2 in order to kind of catch up to the bulk of the of where the trees are. Interestingly, we have some stables going down. Another piece of advice I would say, focus on your barracks more in phase 2, because having as many infantry units collecting resources as possible is very important in the mid game, because towards the end of the game you end up often like floating a lot of food and wood, so it's not as vital to always be building new infantry. And that's when you can more focus on cav, like in phase 3. But in phase 2, if you have these stables and you're training cav from them, unless you're using them to rush the enemy, cav are, as they are right here, just going to be standing around. So if you had built 2 additional barracks instead and you were still training infantry, then those infantry, along with bolstering your troop count for battles, they would also be helping to gather wood, or in this case, you would be wanting to put them on metal, because your stone is relatively high, but I'm predicting that you're going to have a lot of stone that you might end up floating later in this game, whereas your metal, you're well into phase 2 and you still don't have any forges or any upgrades, and those are going to be extremely important very soon. Sternstaub is also in phase 2. They have managed to get themselves housed. They have only their first barracks, but they are producing units 6 at a time. They have 6 cavalry. Do they have any stables? Yes, they have 1 stable, and I would offer the same advice to Sternstaub that I did. So, okay, I have built a mercenary camp, And that was the reason that I went for this metal mine very close to the border. I built a camel mercenary camp, different from my one that I normally build, the Nova Village. I built the Blemier camp instead, so I have taken over this sentry tower. Hopefully, I destroy it before it falls back into User 03's hands. It looks like I'd neglected to do that, so I did waste a lot of time, and I wasted hit points on the cav by capturing this, because it's just going to go right back to control. But I also captured the barracks, and hopefully I managed. Yes, I destroyed that right at the last possible opportunity. And yeah, I'm using this group of 14 camels to rush his wood line. I believe okay, no, never mind. I did not do what I said I was doing. So it looks like User 3 may have called for help. He rang the bell, which is another thing I would suggest. He didn't have to ring the bell at all because I wasn't going after his women. So now he has a lot of idle time that's happening because he rang the bell, and now all of his farming women went back into the civic center in the houses. So I sent my camels back. I am in the process of building a temple so I can heal them up. I was a little bit late to the punch with building the temple. I really should have had that built already, so that as soon as these camels got back, I would be able to heal them. But I now have a second mercenary camp, and I am training the camels in batches from each of them, but I have managed to get myself housed. So you're going to see a lot in this game, a lot of situations in which I am trying to micro my rushes, but I make the mistake of not really taking care of things back at the home base. I'm still housed. I've been housed for quite a long time. Interestingly, I got... well, now my kills are up to 12, but he actually got more kills than me during that first rush. So I microed it pretty poorly, but I did take his barracks, so I edged him out a little bit in that respect. And now I just took down, I believe it was another barracks, or it might have been one of the, yeah, it looks like it was a barracks. And I also took out his storehouse, which was also kind of another mistake on my part. I did not need to waste time taking over a storehouse, which is pretty much useless to him at this point. I sent these guys back, but for whatever reason, I left a very small group to try to take this tower. Luckily, I pulled them out before losing any of them, and I'm sending the ones with higher HP back in, taking this tower over for a second time, and this time I'm not going to make the mistake of leaving it standing so that it can switch back into his control. I was going to take some houses, but I decided to turn them around to meet up with these other guys who I had just healed up, and I'm still producing them in batches of both 5 and 3. Now I'm going for these archers on the metal mines, the metal and the stone mines. They're very soft targets. Looks like I lost control of 2 of them, though, and I let them get taken out. I also split my forces up kind of poorly, and I entered into a very not wise engagement with about 6 of my camels against 11 skirmishers. As a general rule, I would say you should never enter into engagements where the enemy has a higher number of troops than you have, unless, of course, say you have like 3 pikemen going up against like 5 cav, and they can actually catch up to them. Some troops are just way stronger against certain types. So that would be the exception. But generally speaking, if your forces are severely outnumbered, oftentimes the enemy will be able to take you down without losing a single unit. So something that I did repeatedly throughout this match is when you hold down the O key and drag a box across however many units, you will select only the units with, it's called wounded units, who have low health. And this is an extremely vital strategy. It took me a really long time to figure this out. I had to Google it a long time ago when I was first learning how to play 0 AD. But here's a really important tip. You can set the wounded unit health to whatever you want and below. So let's see, this is garrisoned, so I think I tried to take it over, but I wasn't able to. So normally by default, the wounded unit health is set to like 20% or something very low. And I find that if you're waiting until your unit's health is that low, to, let's see, 14 versus way more than 14. So not a good engagement. I was losing units and I got them out of there. So yeah, if you're waiting until units are down to 20% health or whatever the default is, to select them and try to get them to retreat out of a battle. I didn't destroy this house. Okay, see, this was a very good engagement because their health was very low. Or, sorry, there was a very low amount of them. If you're waiting until they're that low on health to try and take them out, most of the time they're going to die before they can escape. So I usually set my wounded unit health to about 50%. Because, yeah, once a unit is down to 50% or below, they are in severe danger and they could die within seconds. So if you set it at 50% and below, then and then you hold O and drag a box across them, then you'll select all of those units, and that's a really good way to oh, see, I made a, oh no, those aren't mine. That's a really good way to get those units out of there and continue like cycling through healthy versus wounded units and bring them into and out of the battle. So I made a huge mistake here. I wanted to bring my archers in to mount a larger attack since they were close to the flank anyway, but I accidentally let them, I kind of forgot about them because I wanted to mount an attack on sternstaub, which I believe it's iffy. He definitely has more units than me here, so I got them out. In the meantime, these archers are actually doing surprisingly well, but I believe at some point I kind of just abandoned them, forget about them / abandon them. Yeah, see, at that point, okay, they're still doing okay. They are taking fire from this stone tower. In the meantime, I am taking sternstaub's houses, which are undefended. Yeah, okay, so this is the point where the archers run out of units to kill. No, they still, okay, yeah, at this point they run out of units to kill and they start trying to take out this stone tower. They get split up and these ones all get taken out by the towers. These ones can't because, actually, I think he does have the upgrade that allows the, no, he does not have the murder hole. So this tower cannot attack these archers that are close to it, but it's going to take out all of these ones trying to get the house. So yeah, I definitely should have microed those archers a little bit better, but I got lucky, and it seems like user 3 was kind of panicking and sending his units every which way. They were very spread out. There were lots of women in range of the archers, so even though I was not microing them, they were able to get a lot of kills in before they were taken out. But the problem is I lost all of my archers who were mining on... Actually, no, they had finished this metal mine, so I think they were idle, and that's why I decided to send them in. In the meantime, I have a new group of archers, which I'm sending over to this metal mine over here since I finished the metal mine close to my base. So because mercenaries cost only metal, I made sure to exploit a lot of the different metal mines, pretty much all of them that were close to my territory. This is the only one that I haven't gone for yet. This is the final one, or not the final one, but this is the most recent one that I've gone for. And now I have a very large group of 47 cav getting ready to mount an attack on sternstaub. And meanwhile, I sent a group of 8 infantry to build a storehouse right on the border here. And it is kind of a long walk, but they're going to be going for this metal mine right here. So these are... what do you call it? They're not javelineer cav, or sorry, they're not spear cav, they're sword cav. So they are not super strong against my camel archers. If they were javelineer cav, sorry, camel skirmishers. If they were javelineer cav, I would definitely have something to worry about. But yeah, I figured that user 3 was pretty much very weak to the point of nearly being out of the game. So I decided to focus my efforts on sternstaub and messing him up. We are 23 minutes into the game, and my population's only at 178. So that's kind of the issue with a strategy like this, where you start when you start doing raiding and rushing very early on. The issue being that it's, unless you're very, very, very good, it takes a lot longer to boom and to progress up through the phases. I did make it to phase 3, but that was very recent. So I took out a lot of his sword cav, and as soon as these spearmen, pikemen, I think pikemen, right? Yeah, as soon as these pikemen, I think they're pikemen. No, I'm sorry, spearmen. As soon as these spearmen were about to catch up to my camel skirmishers, I turned them around and ran away. Thankfully, before they could, because even though it's a small amount, it's only 12 of them versus 37, they could probably take out almost all of them successfully. He has 6 women in this temple, and I decided it wasn't worth it, and I moved on. And now I should be getting ready to... Okay, it looks like I'm going for more, trying to take these stables. Taking these women out first. Yeah, I'm taking over these stables, but I am taking fire from 9 slingers, which is dangerous. I managed to get a stable. I could have garrisoned it, but I decided to just destroy it. And my camels are beginning to drop, so I'm getting them out of there. Now down to 28 of them. My population is staying pretty consistent. It's at 166 currently. Have I built any forges yet? I do have military upgrades. I have pretty much the same military upgrades as sternstaub, interestingly. I have all the first level ones, and I'm beginning to get the level 2. I built my forges all the way in the back of my base, as far back as I could get them, to be in a safe, protected position. I sent these camel archers over to this general area. Now I'm joining them up with this group, 19 plus, so 27 total. And they have most of their health, whereas 20 of them are healing up in this temple. They're actually fully healed. So hopefully I have them. Okay, yeah, so I took them out of the temple, and now I have 47 of them, and I decided to go back to user 3 and whittle his population down a bit more. I think this was a mistake because sternstaub is definitely ahead of user 3 in terms of population. and in terms of upgrades, in terms of he's in phase 3, user 3 is just now going towards phase 3. Interestingly, user 3 decided to start destroying his buildings before I could take them. This is not a smart move at all. Sometimes it is in rare scenarios, like if they're going to take a defense tower on the flank or something that's very vital. However, with these, it's not like me having access to them in his territory would really be that strategically important. So if he had let me, surround them and take the time to capture them, that would have been time that I was taking fire from both of these towers, maybe even this one for this one. So that would have been damage that they were taking, time for him to, defend himself, etc. But since he destroyed them immediately, he still lost them, and I was able to move the camels on to do something else. I took over this house. Not really able to take this tower. And I have another group of camels joining this one for 38, whereas I sent all of the wounded ones back to the temple. I'm trying to take over this temple very close to his civ center, which is of huge strategic importance. But meanwhile, we have... Okay, so Jesus Christ. These are champion spear cav. These are extremely powerful, and as we know, spears are very strong against cav. So these are pretty much the worst nightmare for my camel skirmishers. And I decided they were so wounded, even though it was even though he was vastly outnumbered, I decided to have them turn around and sent the most damaged ones back to the temple, whereas I joined the the non-damaged ones and the non-wounded units up with the ones that just came out of the temple. So now I have a group of 44. And I have them on the flank, and they are heading back into Sternstaub's territory. Interesting, Sternstaub is using a corral to get food. I find that I've really tried, because I like the idea of the corral. It's fun. It's funny because I'm a vegetarian, but I like the idea of the corral. It takes so much micro just to get food, and farms are such an automatic way of getting food that no matter how hard I tried, I could not make the corral more efficient than the farms. Another huge problem with the corral is if you take your eye off the ball and you run out of food and you don't have any farm animals trained, then you can't train any more farm animals because they cost food, which means you can't get food because it takes food to get food. Whereas if you just build out your farming infrastructure, then generally speaking, by deep into phase 3, if you build the right amount of farms and you have all the upgrades, you end up, getting a huge surplus of food anyway. So I took over his tower and I got the camels out of there. I noticed they had built this fort, and there's not really much I could do about that. It's a very effective defensive building, especially having it close to his farms and his civic center. One thing I noticed is he must have rang the bell, and all of his women are idle at the moment, who should be farming. And it was the same situation as when user 3 rang the bell earlier. Maybe he needed to do it when the camels were right there, but he's waiting way too long to get the women back out onto the fields, and he is relatively low on food for this late into the game. So I'm moving my group of now 26 camels back to user 3's territory, but they are very low on health right now, and I really should send them back to the temple to heal up. At this point, I also have a ridiculous amount of stone. And realistically, I should probably have like 4 temples, maybe 3, for my population right now and the amount of camels that I'm working with. because if I had 3 temples, then I would have enough to send all of my camels back to heal at the same time. Whereas as it is, I have to, my temple keeps filling up, or has kept filling up at various points throughout this game, and I've had to let a lot of wounded camels kind of surround the temple and heal that way, which is significantly slower. So I captured another stable. Hopefully I remember to, yes, I knocked it down. And I have 44 camels. A lot of them are very low on health at this point, though. We have 11 spearmen and 8 stone thrower slingers on this metal mine. That would be a very good target for me to hit at some point, but I am doing other targets at this point. I did pull my wounded camels out, and I'm sending them back to heal. Sternstaub is doing an incredible job of defending at this point in the game. And he has actually been slowly catching up to me in terms of population and preventing me from really going that far. I don't think I've been above 180 pretty much at any point throughout this game. The crazy thing is so here's a huge problem. This game has gone on for so long, and I still only have my 2 mercenary camps and 1 barracks. And I am now pretty much running out of metal. This metal mine is more than halfway full. So is this one, but after those metal mines are gone, I mean, I could go for this one, but this is a much smaller metal mine. I could also go for this one, but I would have to do an expansion to get those. Meanwhile, if I had built a bunch of stables, which I very easily could, I would have basically an infinite source of cavalry to hit both of these players with in the late game. Let's see. I'm wondering where the majority of Sternstaub's units are. He has, I guess, his main woodcutters are over here. So I don't know if I kind of, yeah, they're definitely kind of off the beaten path, because I've been sending my camels in kind of through this area. So I'm probably not aware, or I haven't been aware throughout this game, of these woodcutters. And he has been able to, I haven't been able to cut off his supply of wood by hitting those. So he's been able to consistently get wood and, you know, grow his population. So he's still only 40 below me. Yeah, it's crazy. I've gotten 205 kills. So if you say they lost about 100 each, their populations would be much higher right now, if not for these raids. So we are seeing a bit of a quiet moment. User 3 has decided to build a very large fence around his territory, but it is, it's not very effective because of the fact that it doesn't extend all the way to the edge of the map. So it's a pretty simple process of me going around it. But we will see if at any point going forward, what do you call it, the fence was served as an impediment. I did decide to build an arsenal to kind of diversify my attacks. I think instead of the arsenal, I really would have done well to create a bunch of stables, like I said, or barracks, but normally I go for stables, generally speaking, in the late game. I now have a very large, I've finally gotten my population up a bit higher. I'm up to 69 camels, getting ready to mount another attack on Sternstaub, and let's see how this one goes. He's running his slingers away. Definitely on the defense. Okay, so yeah, so these are these the champions? No, these are the sword cav. They're a group of 10, so I shouldn't have much of a problem taking those out. And now he brings in a group of 19 champion spear cavalry. And they're going to wreck my camels, despite the fact that I have so many more camels. These are champions. These are not. So 69, he literally dropped them down to 29 in a matter of seconds. Insane. Yeah, spears, pikes against cav of any kind are just brutal. Here I go again, trying to bring them back into the fight. Yeah, I only managed to take out 2 of them. They're also, spear cav of all kinds are faster than regular cav. Champions are faster than regular units. So, yeah, he literally completely decimated my 69 camels in seconds. I didn't fare so well against those cav either, although I was able to take them out. So at this point, I am panicking. My rams were not really able to do much at all because I did not have units to defend them while they, went about their demolition. So I panic. I take all of my wood cutting units. I group them up with my 24 remaining camels, and I go in for another attack. I also have champion axemen coming out of the temple. I have another 3 rams coming out, so that's a total of 5. He took one of them out. But now he literally has a larger force than me. If you take out the rams, not true, but I have about 20 more than him, but these are mostly cav, and most of the cav are champions. So he is going to annihilate all of my camels right now. And yeah, the swordsmen are going to maybe do a little bit to defend against the archers, but they're going to defend the archers, I should say. They're going to drop really fast. I've taken out most of his champions, but he still has 5 of them. And, yeah, I brought in the little bit of camels that I have left, but he's now bringing 8 more sword cav into the fight to take out my rams. And, yeah, he has pretty much brought my entire force that I was attacking him with down to 0. Yeah, he's killed all of the units that I threw at him, which includes all of my woodcutters. Not that it matters because, I have basically infinite wood at this point. But, so yeah, interesting. I wasn't sure how low my population was at this point. However, it was actually lower than his. And, yeah, at this point, if I had continued, there is a chance that I could have stuck it out and pulled through. But I think there's a higher chance that they would have won because it was 2 versus 1. Let's not forget. User 3 had miraculously managed to surpass sternstaub, and was up to 144 pop, and my population was down to, after he knocked out all of my camels, all of the units I was attacking him with, lower than his. So I was now lower in population than the 2 players that I was fighting against. So, yeah, my chances were actually very low at that point. Yeah, I had fun during this game. I definitely was cocky towards the end of it, but yeah, if you're going to play a rushing strategy, it goes to show how skilled of a player you really need to be, because you kind of go from playing one game to playing 2 different games at the same time. Like the game of maintaining your eco, developing, moving up the phases, getting to phase 3, building out your infrastructure, which takes so much because you need to build so many either barracks or stables by the time you get to phase 3 to really sufficiently reinforce. So you need to be able to do all that, and you also need to be able to micro your units who are attacking at the same time. And I was doing a lot of the micro, but I definitely neglected my base and my eco. And yeah, that ended up being my downfall. He was lucky to be working with a civ that has champion spear cav, and he was smart to sink resources into those champion spear cav and get 20 of them, which were just enough to really decimate my camel skirmishers. And by the time I realized how lethal they were, I couldn't even escape, because the spear cav, even in general, like Romans start with spear cav and they're faster than regular cav, but champions are always going to be faster than regular units. And yeah, they were able to chase my camels down and slaughter them. And yeah, he really turned the game around. And by the time he dropped me down to a population level that low, I was so fatigued that I just could not go on. And when I resigned, their response, sternstaub, said, "Really?" in the chat. I think they were really happy and surprised about how the game turned out. But yeah, user 3, I hope you end up watching this. I hope y'all both end up watching this, but I don't know if sternstaub follows me, or subscribed, I should say. But yeah, I had a really fun game, and it was definitely good experience learning how to micro rushes and the pitfalls that potentially come along with that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to see more wonderful Zero AD videos for a wonderful community. Thank you so much for your continued support, guys.